Alright guys, record players seldom pass this test, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. It just means they didn't pass this test. What I'm going to do is bring the voltage up slowly, just like with the radio, and if there is a problem I'll see an increase in current, but in the meantime I don't need to get zapped. So let's do this. Let's turn on the variac. Let's see what happens here to current. We're going to be watching current. You can't see it, but I can. 60 volts. It's humming badly. Okay, don't want to push that motor. So let's see what happens here. Let's see. Lift this up out of the way and see if I can see what's going on in there. What I want you to look at, that wheel right there. Okay, so it looks like that wheel needs to be inside of this. Okay. Doesn't want to turn. I can hear the motor humming, so there's current going through the windings, but there's some reason why it doesn't want to turn. The motor turns easily enough, so it isn't that it can't rotate. Let's see if that motor will turn without anything connected to it. Yeah, motor's turning. Sometimes that turns easily enough. That's not a lubrication issue. Let's try this one more time. Now watch this, guys. Watch that fan. See that? Doesn't seem to be turning with a lot of gusto though. It's not drawing that much current, so that's good. If these motors stop, they'll draw current like crazy. Seems to be getting better. There we go. Alright, let's give her a whirl now. Okay, when this is resting down, it doesn't seem to want to turn. So this is more of a bearing issue with this thing. Let me put a few drops of lubricant in that bearing. Boy, it does not like to run when it's sitting like that. See, it'll turn when it's not sitting. Let me show you something, guys. Watch this. See that? Turns just fine. So what that tells me is this is just a bearing issue. So I'm not going to sweat it. The motor is going to work. Not sure why when it's sitting facing down it's stopping, but that's okay. That's an adjustment thing and we'll figure that out. Yeah, that's not going to work sitting down. Okay, I saw this mechanism here operating, so I'm not concerned about any of that. Basically what we need to do, let me tell you about these record players. This right here is Philco's early attempt at magnetic cartridge, okay? It's hard to see, but that is a magnetic cartridge, and I have dealt with these before, and the truth is nobody makes them. There is nothing you can do with them. You can't get needles for them. The needles are special. They have a special taper, and if you try to put an ordinary needle in there, you'll ruin it. So there's really nothing you can do with these. What I can do is try and strip that out of there and put a ceramic cartridge in there. And then this magnetic runs through an impedance matching transformer, and then it picks up in the radio, and the radio amplifies the signal from there. So if I take that impedance matching transformer out of there, put a ceramic in there, I ought to be able to feed that ceramic right into the radio. The thing is, these radios were sold with either the magnetic or the ceramic. You got whichever one you wanted. And I believe the chassis didn't change. It was all in the record player and in that impedance matching transformer, which is mounted in the bottom of the cabinet on these. That's how you know it's magnetic, by the way. If that's there, you know it's magnetic. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest to him that we put a ceramic in there, P226. We run it without the transformer and do whatever tweaking in the chassis I need to do to make that work. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and shut her down now. I think I've seen everything I need to see. The motor works. The mechanism's all there. The mechanism works. We got some lubrication issues, some stickiness issues. There's going to be some partial disassembly to get that all fixed up. And we'll put a Von Steel ceramic cartridge in there. That's about it on this thing. Okay, to remove the idler wheel, it's a fairly small idler wheel. I'm thinking it's about 2 inches. You remove I've already loosened it. You remove this clip. Alright. And then there's a little fiber shim under it. Take that shim off. Okay. And then the wheel just lifts right off. Sorry about the bad camera work, guys. And then underneath there is another little fiber shim that sits under the wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and put this shim back on there. And I'll put this clip on so I don't lose it. There. Okay. Alright, so now the clip is on so I don't lose it. There's a fiber shim that goes under the wheel and one that goes on top of the wheel, and then the clip goes on the very top. Other than that, there are 3 motor grommets. These feel like they're in pretty good shape, so I'll probably be okay on these. They're a little hard though. Yeah, this one's real hard. So I think a new set of motor grommets is in order, not because they're cracking, but this one here is really hard. And these here are somewhat soft still, but this one here is bad. And I don't want to just replace one. You wind up going back and doing the job again. That's not good. Let's take the motor off of this record changer. Okay. Alright, here's what the hardware is supposed to look like for these. You've got a flat washer, a fender washer, a little tiny split lock washer, and a nut. So I'll go ahead and put these in the bag. Oh, and I see a bushing also. Right here, I see a bushing inside There we go. So that bushing, it's about a half-inch long, maybe a little longer. Now, unless it's stuck, when I lift this changer table up, that motor is going to want to fall out. So I'm going to need to get my arm under it, my hand under it, and support it. Yep, I can see that. Now, go ahead and let it out so I can get my hands on these bushings. Oops, the bushings just fall out. Let's see if this one does. Maybe not so much. There we go. Okay, so let me just stand this up on its side. Oh, yikes. Can't have that. All right, so here are the bushings. I have the motor in my hand. Okay, there's this plate that goes on the motor. All right, and it's pretty easy. It'll only go on one way. So let's go ahead and pull that plate off of there. I can see that underneath there's another set of bushings and another nut. I'm not going to worry about that because I don't intend on taking this apart. All I want to do is clean and lubricate. So it's not going to need much. This thing turns nice and freely, and I could over lubricate it if I'm not careful. So I'm going to go ahead and let's lay this turntable, this record changer down so I can set the motor down. Okay, what I should have done first, and I see that now, but I didn't see it then, is remove this switch right here because it's held on by a couple of screws, and it's probably a couple of Phillips screws on the other side. So now I have to be extra careful. So I'll support this motor as I turn the plate over. Okay, let's go ahead and take these out. Maybe this Philco nameplate will come off too, and I can clean it better. Maybe not. Sometimes these buttons for the sliders, the slide sort of controls, they don't like to lift off of there. There aren't any lock washers or anything under these screws. Oh, check it out. Okay, I'll have to see if that comes off. Let me try now. Nope. They never want to come off. Maybe it's set screwed, I don't know. Well, I'll deal with that later. Right now, let's get this switch off. Okay, there we go. Okay, so switch is off. Set these screws aside. We'll put those in their own baggie. If you decide you're going to do a record changer, you better have an ample supply of baggies because you'll fill them up, and you don't want to put everything in one baggie because you'll never know what they were. All right, so really all that's left, because this is the plug that goes to the console, and that just provides power through this switch to the motor. So all I need to do is remove that screw right there. I'll put that and the little clamp in the baggie. Let's see if I can do it with a screwdriver. Yeah, it was tight though. It's probably never been removed. This little ground lug here is like a star washer. Of course, there was nothing attached to it, so I'm going to run a wire to this because you never know. So, sometimes you get hum and you connect this to the chassis ground and you'll take away that hum. Okay, there's the clamp. These are just held together with some glued paper. I think I'll just let that be because this wire looks fine. I just want to get this out of here so that I can work on it. All right, oh, before I do anything else, let me take these little grommets out for the motor. They almost look like they were kind of hand cut from a grommet for a different purpose. Like this, the skinny part right here was maybe too big and they trimmed it down, but I don't know why they would. There's plenty of room there. So, oh no, this one's split. Oh, terrific. Okay, that means a full set. Why is one of them hard and the other ones are not? That is odd. Yeah, that one's hard as a rock, and these two are soft and pliable. Very strange. Well, doesn't matter. I'll have to replace them. Last thing I want is for this thing to be working for a couple weeks and then have the motor start to bounce around because the grommet comes apart. We're going to do the motor later. Right now I want to take an inventory of what's on this changer and start to work on the changer itself. The motor I'll do later, so I'm just going to set that in a box, set it aside. Most of this stuff looks to be pretty clean and in pretty good shape, so this won't be any real problem. Everything's moving smoothly. It's never been over lubricated. See, this is how it is when you leave things be and don't go crazy with lubrication. So really I'm just going to clean this stuff up and put a drop of oil here and there, tiny bit of grease here and there, and that will be all I need to do. Alright, I'm going to live with it. I'll just clean it up as it is. I run into this on other ones too. I've done lots of record changers where I've not been able to get that thing off of there. They must glue it somehow, and you risk breaking it if you keep pushing it. Okay, so this fiber gear looks to be in good shape. Let me put on some stronger glasses and I'll get a good look at it. All the teeth appear to be good. Somebody got a little happy with the grease on the top side where this motor is. I can fix that. Okay, let's get about cleaning it. First I'm going to go ahead and clean up here, and then I'll get to work down below. I use my favorite cleaner. I will not use lacquer thinner on places that are going to be visible and could be damaged by it. So let me just, I'll do some checking. Of course, no lacquer thinner on that kind of thing. This might just be water that takes this off, and so I'm going to try that. I'll get this area real quick with that has the grease, because I know water won't hit that. Yeah, somebody went a little nuts with some grease on this here. It's interesting how many people think, well, I'll just grease it up, that'll fix it. And they're satisfied with that because it seems to work at first. But then that grease starts to harden or collect dirt, and before you know it, the thing is worse off than it was before. There's no reason to grease surfaces like this that's not a friction surface. That just makes no sense. But I'm always on that soapbox, guys, so I'm not trying to wear you out. Let's see about this here. I really don't want to pull this off. It's usually pretty involved getting these off of here. So just a real quick touch. I think this is made of phenolic, and so the lacquer thinner won't hurt it. Alright, the best way to find out if lacquer thinner will damage the paint is do a little test area where it's not going to matter. And it usually doesn't damage this paint on these things. See, it's not coming off, the paint's not coming off on the towel. If the lacquer thinner were hurting it, it would take some paint off, and it's not doing that. So that means that when I get into tough oily stains, lacquer thinner will be okay to use. And you know what, just because this one Philco is okay doesn't mean that you should take your Philco and just dive in. You need to test it too. Philco especially is one of those companies that changed their materials and their methods a lot, and they didn't tell anybody about it. So you might be working on one radio, for example, where the dial is painted on with like an oil-based or enamel paint, and you think it's okay to pick up another one of those radios and hit it and start washing that dial off, and you find out that was sprayed, that was silk screened with water-based paint, and all the numbers come right off. Okay, so what this does is simplifies the polishing process, because I'm going to polish this. You know, I'm going to polish the whole record changer when I'm all done. Yeah, it's not taking off any paint, but so a lot of these stains aren't coming off either. But what it will do is take off the oil and grease that will interfere with the polishing. So I hit it quick. I don't scrub a lot. I'm just trying to get the surface oils off. See, it'll take that little crayon or whatever that is, that mark off of there. It makes it a lot easier. Philco made their own record changers, so you're not going to find Philco record changer parts in the parts bin for Voice of Music. That makes them neat. They're unique, and they have their own way of doing it, but it also makes it harder to get parts. Now, Voice of Music Audio Enthusiast, which is the website, which is the place I get all my record changer parts, they can supply me with the replacement idler wheel, which is the key part that I need. Now, other parts I can improvise, but that idler wheel has to be right. So those motor mounts, I doubt he has those exact motor mounts, but I'd be willing to bet you that tuner mounting grommets from a radio, I can think of one in particular, an RCA, that I think would work, will do just fine. So I'll make those motor mount grommets work. I'm not worried about that. Okay, so now I got the top cursory clean. It's handleable. Is that a word? You tell me, guys. I know there's a bookworm out there among you who can tell me if that's a word. So anyway, I can handle it now. So let me look at the bottom side now. Okay, we'll go through all this, taking all these pieces apart. Don't let lacquer thinner get near these numbers. It'll take it clean off. Looks like somebody spilled soda or something on it that got in there and corroded this paint away here and kind of ruined this area. Okay, I've really done all I can with a paper towel. I'll tell you what, guys. Let's wrap this one up for now. There's still quite a bit to do on this record changer. And for those of you who are not interested in working on a record changer for your machine, just go ahead and skip this record changer stuff. But I have a feeling that those that are going to work on their record changers are going to want the details, so I don't want to shortchange any of that. So the next one is going to be lots of detail about going into lubricating, cleaning and lubricating the bottom side of this thing. And then we'll go ahead and move on into the radio after that. So from your Western Outpost in Salt Lake City, this is Michael, and that's all for now.